Click, click, click. That sound, half rhythm, half ritual, was once the heartbeat of connection. What if a single finger spin could bridge worlds, spark revolutions, and connect hearts across distances, one misdial away from silence forever? In our instant tap era, this mechanical marvel's pulse will grip you like never before. Today, calling someone is effortless. We tap a name, and the connection happens in less than a second. But for a century, a phone call was an act of patience, coordination, and precision. You didn't just make a call, you built one. The rotary dial phone was more than a device. It was a tiny mechanical translator, turning your slow human motion into the exact electrical pulses that reached another person's ear. Before rotary dials, phones had no numbers. You picked up the receiver and spoke to an operator, usually a woman at a large switchboard, who manually connected your line using cords and plugs. It was slow, personal, and fragile. One mistake, one crossed line, and your words might end up in someone else's conversation. By the late 1800s, the telephone network was growing too fast for humans to keep up. The need for automation was obvious. The answer came from a man named Almon Strowger, an undertaker from Kansas City. He believed a rival's wife, who worked as a telephone operator, was redirecting calls meant for him. So Strowger decided to eliminate operators altogether. In 1891, he patented the first automatic telephone exchange, a system that used electrical pulses to move mechanical switches. Early experiments used push buttons and levers, but they were too fragile, too inconsistent. Then came the circular dial, simple, intuitive, precise. By the early 1900s, the rotary dial was born. The beauty of the rotary phone lies in its hidden clockwork. When you insert your finger into a numbered hole and pull the dial around, you're winding a spring. The dial doesn't send the signal yet. It's charging potential energy. Then, when you release it, the dial spins back to its rest position at a carefully controlled speed, regulated by a governor mechanism. As it returns, a cam inside the dial opens and closes an electrical contact, creating a series of clicks, one for each number you dialed. Dial a 3 and the circuit clicks 3 times. Dial a 9 and it clicks 9. Each pulse is a fragment of your intent, counted at the central exchange and routed to the right line. That's the genius of it. The rotary dial didn't just signal numbers, it physically counted them. Every call began as a rhythm of clicks, a music of motion turned into code. Using a rotary phone was an act of patience. Each call began with a deep breath, a steady finger, and the knowledge that a single slip meant starting over. You could hear the dial spinning back, whir, and in that pause you felt anticipation. The phone had presence. It sat on the table like an anchor, with weight and sound and smell. Kids learned to dial by watching adults. Teenagers mastered one-handed dialing while holding a receiver under their chin. The rhythm became second nature, an unspoken dance between hand and machine. If you lived in the 1960s or 70s, you remember the sound of a missed dial, the hollow dread of realizing you'd stopped one hole too early. That moment of frustration was part of the ritual. Calling was never casual. It took effort, and that effort made connection meaningful. By the mid-20th century, rotary dials circled the globe. From London to Tokyo, from New York to Nairobi, that single circular motion became a universal gesture for communication. You could walk into almost any building, anywhere, and find the same familiar dial, numbers arrayed in a perfect ring. Letters beside them spelling out city exchanges. Telecom companies standardized the spacing, the feel, even the speed of return. Engineers obsessed over resistance, spring tension, and the satisfying click at the end of each rotation. It wasn't just engineering, it was ergonomics before the term existed. And beneath the surface, the rotary dial helped birth the modern digital world. Those electrical pulses were early binary, on, off, on, off. In a way, the rotary phone trained humanity for the logic of computing. Discrete signals, precise timing, human input converted into machine-readable code. The 1960s brought push-button phones and touch-tone dialing. No waiting for the dial to spin back, no worrying, no patience, just instant tones. By the 1980s, rotary phones began fading into attics, antique shops, and movie sets. But they never truly died. Their simplicity made them nearly indestructible. You could drop one, cut power, or leave it unplugged for a decade, and still it would work. They needed no battery, no software update, no charger, only your hand. Even today, collectors and artists love the rotary phone for what it represents: tactile trust. It reminds us that technology once had weight, that connection was a process, not a reflex. And maybe that's why the sound of a rotary dial still feels oddly human, imperfect, mechanical, and completely real. If rotary phones disappeared tomorrow, most of the world wouldn't notice. But a few people would. They'd miss the pause between digits, the feeling of a conversation beginning with motion, not just touch. They'd miss the rhythm, the sound that meant someone, somewhere, was waiting on the other end. In that sense, the rotary dial wasn't just a tool. It was a teacher. It taught patience. It made mistakes visible. It rewarded attention. And in a world that moves faster every year, maybe that's the lesson worth dialing back to. So next time you scroll through contacts and press call, remember the spin that came before. A single finger, a circle, and a line across the world. This was the manual mode of communication, when connection was earned, one click at a time. Got a rotary story? Maybe a memory, a sound, a number you dialed by heart? Drop it in the comments, and subscribe for more stories from manual mode, where old machines still hum with life. Thanks for watching.